just like Baltimore, we didn't hear from yesterday, a AFC runner-up team at 12-4. We now have, for the first time on the clock, because they traded out of the first round, the Denver Broncos starring Peyton Manning at quarterback. The Broncos, who with Tim Tebow at quarterback for much of the second half of the season, won in about as scintillating a fashion as you could ever see the AFC West. Surprising winners of the West, even at 8-8, and a playoff win over Pittsburgh that nobody will ever forget. As everyone knows, Tebow was a Jet. And some guy named Peyton Manning, first-round pick overall in 1998, is now the quarterback for President John Elway, owner Pat Bowlen, head coach John Fox. So now the Broncos, who can run the ball, now have an entirely different. I mean, this is Peyton Manning. So before we go draft, Peyton probably expects to play 3 or 4 years. Coach, should we think anything otherwise?
No, I don't think so. And look, they ran the ball, as you said, 55% of the time. That led the NFL. When Tebow played quarterback, they ran it almost 60% of the time. Well, with Peyton Manning in town, they're not going to do that. They're going to throw it. No. Manning is there to throw the football, and they're going to be a no-huddle offense. So they're looking for smart, versatile, I think, offensive players. Could be a lineman, could be a skill guy, but somebody that fits this up-tempo, no-huddle offense with Peyton Manning.
And what's the best way to help the quarterback, John? Build up your defense. This defense had issues. You think about the defensive ends, they can get after the quarterback, kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles. You got the pass rush from the outside. Up front, the interior's soft. You need some defensive tackle help for the Denver Broncos. They got a couple young safeties, Carter, Moore, that have some ability. Could add another corner. I was anxious to see when Janoris Jenkins from North Alabama comes off the board, but I think the softness of the interior up the middle, that defensive tackle spot for the Denver Broncos is something early in this draft they're going to have to address.
Yeah, you're right. With Von Miller, the second overall pick of the draft last year, and Doomerville on the pass rush, they can do that. Now, they just had, not totally unexpected, a great professional, Brian Dawkins, earlier this week, announced his retirement, most of his career with Philadelphia, of course, the last couple of years at Denver, and certainly an enforcer, but I think more corner than safety if they go in the defensive backfield. And I think you're right. And by the way, I think John Fox coaches defense, and you got a quarterback.
To announce the Denver Broncos selection, please welcome from Georgia, a 6th-round draft pick in the 1995 draft by the Broncos, running back Terrell Davis.
With the 36th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Derek Wolfe, D-tackle, Cincinnati.
Well, right position, maybe a name to some a surprise, Mel and Coach?
I've been raving about this kid for 2 months, debating everybody about him, Boom. I thought he was a late first. I projected him to be a late first-round pick. He didn't go there. The most productive defensive tackle in this draft was a guy that nobody wanted to talk about. He was quiet through the process, which you usually, as a player, it gets you nervous, but you like to hear. There's somebody out there like this guy. Nobody wanted to talk about him. This kid is huge, 6'5", nearly 300 pounds, 33 reps at the combine. Productive in workout, usually adds up to good player. Talk about a kid, former wrestler. You like the fact that he had 21.5 tackles for loss and 9.5 sacks. And I think this is a kid that can help a team in a number of ways. Run stopper, good enough pass rusher. Denver Broncos can get it done from the outside. Up front, now they get a guy who I think was one of the more underrated players in this draft.
Well, he's got 20 sacks coming from a defensive tackle position. A lot of second effort plays. This is the kind of player defensive coaches fall in love with. Good pick.
So the first pick for the Broncos is a Bearcat. Derek Wolfe from Cincinnati. Let's go up now to Chris Mortensen, Adam Schefter, and a guy who's been around the block a couple times in these drafts.
Well, Boom, thanks very much. We are coming into the range where North Alabama cornerback Janoris Jenkins is going to come into play in the second round of the draft. We've heard his background before. 3 arrests, 2 for marijuana possession, 1 for fighting, kicked off the Florida team, transfers to North Alabama, a player who has as much talent as any cornerback in this draft. We are moving into the area more where Janoris Jenkins is going to come into play.
Yeah, and teams are all over the map in this. Some have taken him off the board. Some say this second round could be his round. And then you got a guy like Bill Parcells, who we know during the NFL Draft Confidential said, you put these guys in a box, and I've heard one team say he's in our box, but in the 6th or 7th round. I got to ask Bill, Would you take him in this round?
Absolutely not. He's deep in the box. It's way too early to gamble, and he's a gamble.
And earlier before, you said he reminded you a little bit of the decision that a team would face by taking Adam Pac-Man Jones.
It's a risk. It's a big risk, and it's way too early to take it.
And so right now we have coming up the Jacksonville Jaguars, then the St. Louis Rams. And fairly soon we could hear the name of Janoris Jenkins live from Radio City Music Hall.
Call Dave.
This is Dave.
Hey, just got off work. The conditions are looking pretty good.
With standard color touch radio system, Bluetooth connectivity, and backup camera, the 32 Highway MPG GMC Terrain. The only thing more amazing than its technology is what you can do with it. Lease this 2012 GMC Terrain for $269 a month. The 2012 Terrain from GMC.
Listen, I want what I want. I ask her to take a little off the top, and she gives me this. It's not what I wanted. Obviously, you don't have that problem.
Seriously, man, it looks fine.
Come on, be honest. I even brought her a picture.
And she still gave you that?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. She still gives me this. I don't understand.
Did you tip her?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have.
Thanks, Larry.
No problem.
Seriously, how bad is it?
Relax, man. It'll grow back.
Maybe.
What happened last night? Apparently we went to Jack in the Box at 1:54 a.m. and got 9 orders of tacos, 4 seasoned curly fries, and 7 real ice cream shakes. So who drove us home?
I did.
Oh, why are you still here?
He dared you to eat my keys.
And why didn't you call a cab?
He dared you to eat my phone.
Have you ever seen the sun jumping into a stream? It's really something to see. She's really something to me.
Welcome back to the 2012 NFL Draft, presented by Bud Light.
Welcome back, everybody, to New York, where the Cleveland Browns yesterday, they needed a running back. Check, Trent Richardson. They picked a quarterback, Brandon Weeden. They certainly need a wide receiver. But you know what? They need a right tackle. They got Joe Thomas at left tackle. They need a right tackle. And this might be, you talked about offensive tackles, linemen here, Coach. I'm thinking this is the time that the Browns go for a right tackle. The guy who played on a championship team a long time ago that the commissioner will introduce.
To announce the Cleveland Browns selection, please welcome from Maryland, the 4th overall pick of the 1962 draft by the Browns, receiver Gary Collins.
With the 37th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Mitchell Schwartz, tackle, California.
By the way, Gary Collins was the big receiver when Jim Brown and Frank Ryan, Dr. Frank Ryan, the quarterback, won the championship at 64. Their last. Thought I would throw that in. This is a bit of a surprise, not the position at all.
No, not the position, Boom, but with Bobby Massey from Ole Miss there, a right tackle. Surprised they went for Mitchell Schwartz. You have Jonathan Martin Stanford, who could maybe pick over the right tackle. Colicchio Simile, Iowa State. But you look at Mitchell Schwartz, extensive experience at both right tackle and left tackle at Cal. Obviously, with the Browns, he'll go back to the right side. 6'5" and a quarter, 320 pounds, average athlete, average strength in the upper body. But I like the fact he always kept that frame. The